Hi, YouTube family. It's Daughter of the Most High. Hope you had a wonderful week and heading into a wonderful weekend. I just want to share with you the place that God has had me in for a couple of weeks now, and I got to tell you, I'm shocked and very intrigued, but shocked at the same time. So I want to share what He has shown me so far, and this is like the beginning of the journey, or a little ways into the journey. This is new stuff for me, so I want to share this with you. And if this is interesting for you, if this is something that you feel that God is leading you toward, you can stay with me on it. But if you feel like this is too much, it's actually kind of freaky. I'll just tell you, it's kind of freaky. I did not know about this stuff, and I'll tell you in a little bit where this is leading to. So I'm going to start first with how this began. And as I shared in a prior video, that God had led me to Kathy O'Brien's story. This one, Transformation of America, and it's Transformation of America. Well, what does she mean by trans? She's talking about mind control. So I ordered this book on Amazon, and I was just shocked. I'm about halfway through it, and there was times I had to put it down. I mean, this is not an easy read. She was sold by her parents. Her dad was caught with child porn, like videos and pictures, sending them through the mail. And what happened is that the authorities came to him, and I don't know how all that transpired, but the authorities came to him and just told him, if you will pretty much, give us access to your daughter, which is Kathy, and also her brother, their son, but primarily Kathy, that we will like let you off the hook, and we'll use her for these, certain things, and then, we'll tell you how to raise her. And it turns out to be so much worse. And it's so shocking to me that her parents were part of this. And yes, there were payoffs, financial payoffs. It was, being around elite people. The elite people are always the ones into everything that's evil. And not that other people aren't, but it just seems like, government leaders and celebs and athletes and all that, they always seem to be the ones that are into all the darkness behind the scenes. So her father at a young age is having her participate in all of this mind control training. Well, the mind control training involves a lot of trauma. It's physical trauma, sexual trauma, verbal abuse, hanging her upside down, bestiality, all kinds of stuff that was traumatic for her as a little girl. And then what happens is that because it's so traumatic, and then she's separated from the family, so she doesn't, as a little girl, that in itself is frightening, let alone everything that's going on with her. But it was all a way to create this mind, which is actually becomes what we used to call multiple personality disorder, but is now called dissociative identity disorder. They're the same thing, just different names. Well, if you know anything about multiple personality disorder, it occurs in children and people that have been exposed to very traumatic situations. It can even just be like a war-torn country. It can be car accidents. It can be if a child is like sick a lot and that kind of stuff. And that's just, more of like the normal range things, that there's trauma in life. And some people experience trauma in various ways. And what happens is that if the trauma goes on long enough and they're not able to handle that high level of trauma, the brain compartmentalizes this away from that. So like if a little girl or a little boy is being sexually abused, that they will go to another place in their mind during the abuse. So that doesn't happen initially, but as that child continues to be sexually abused, they will compartmentalize that off or wall that off in their personality and then go to that place. And believe me, I'm no expert on this. I, of course, read about it, various, occurrences of it in people's lives, but I don't consider myself an expert at all on this stuff. Maybe just a little bit of knowledge. So what is happening with like Kathy O'Brien, and if you've heard of MK Ultra, which is that CIA mind control program where they victimize people and create mind control through various traumatic experiences, and then it's so traumatic and so severe that the victim's brain is so compartmentalized, or so they dissociate into various like little pockets of their brain, and so that they can actually use that person as a sex slave, as a soldier, as to communicate information that they don't want anybody else to hear. So they'll code that in the person, tell them that, whatever the information is, some kind of top secret information. Then they send, the victim, they don't call it a victim, but we do, that victim over to whoever, some government official or something, and they'll say the code word red dog or something, and then they'll know to share that information, and it's all very robotic. And I don't know if I'm explaining it very well, because this is so I'm still actually very new to it and just finding out about this and very shocked by this. So that's what they are creating these people for. Now, a lot of it is for sex slaves, because, and if you read this book, and then I've also came across, just in, searching and checking things out, a very interesting book by Susan Ford, and it's called Thanks for the Memories. And she is also a mind control victim. And so she is also a mind control slave. Both of these women speak out now. Susan Ford, which she goes by the name Bryce Taylor, I believe. And she wrote a book under the name Bryce Taylor. And she seems a little more integrated. So what happens when these people, these victims, or somebody else that, had trauma for some other reason or in some other way, maybe not necessarily satanic ritual abuse or, the CIA, MK Ultra, mind control, but maybe just regular life trauma, like a war-torn country or something like that. What they want to do to bring healing to these people is to integrate those personalities back as one. And so if they split off into, like, sometimes it's 6 or 7 personalities, sometimes it's a lot of personalities. We all have heard the story Sybil, where she split off into, I don't know how many personalities. I don't think it was 20, but it was a lot. And those are people that have had, highly traumatic childhoods, and where the abuse continues, and then it's called dissociative identity disorder, because what they're doing in order to preserve self on that subconscious level is to wall off or disassociate from the trauma that's going on. And that's what happens. So Susan, to me, seems more integrated than Kathy O'Brien. But I've also read, since I've even started reading this book, is that they consider Mark Phillips, who was supposed to be someone that integrated her, is actually a handler. Now they call these people that use these victims, these people, these mind control slaves. They use and utilize what they've created in them, they're called a handler. And so I have read since then that Mark Phillips is a handler. So that she is still under his control now, although she is somewhat integrated. So I'm like, okay, so that's new information as well. But I'm still reading her book, and she seems to think that he's actually someone that is helpful to her. But if you look at her eyes, she still seems like she disassociates like almost constantly. So this is like so alarming, and it's like information that's different than most of us are even aware of. So Susan Ford, her book, Thanks for the Memories, and then it also has like a subtitle, The Truth Will Set You Free. She claims to have had an experience with God and knows the Lord, which is probably why she seems more integrated, is because God has helped to bring her that healing. I was trying to get a hold of her book on Amazon, and it sells for like $100 or $200 for the book. I don't want to spend that kind of money. So in my search, I also found where she has, it's an audio book on YouTube, and I've listened to 2.5 hours of the 10 hours and 44 minutes that this book is actually read. And I was listening like to like a half hour, 40 minutes a day. And I got to tell you again, that's why this stuff is not easy material. You're hearing about, her programming, and then she's picked up in a dark, sedan car, a black car, whatever, driven somewhere to be used sexually by 3 men, and then she's picked up again, and then she's, and it goes into so much of that stuff, and she goes into a little bit more detail sometimes. And sometimes it's celebrities, sometimes it's government leaders, sometimes it's other people. It's so hard to keep reading that, I'm going to tell you. So I do put it down sometimes, or I haven't logged on to YouTube and watched more of that video in a couple of days. It's just too much to take in. She shares it. The person that's actually reading her book does a good job. She's got, an accent, and it's well done and pleasant. Like the voice is pleasant, but it's what she's saying. It's so hard to listen to over and over. And then this is too. Kathy O'Brien seems to have more physical abuse, more of like physical trauma than Susan Ford does. Susan Ford seems to have more sexual trauma, although they each have both, but a little bit more. I guess it just depends on what they want to use the person for, is what they expose them to create in their mind. So then I went on and I found what is called MK Ultra Documentary, Techniques, Celebrities, and More. This is an hour-long documentary, and it's actually pretty well done on MK Ultra. And so I will put that link in the description box, and you can read it, or not read, but listen to it. Listen to that link, and you're going to be shocked. Now, again, I just want to warn you, for people that maybe struggle with this kind of information, if you're not up to watching this, maybe this isn't what God has for you right now. It is what God has for me, so that's why I'm sharing it. And even though I get kind of like saturated with it, I can still do it. I can still, it's not like bothering me all the time, but I do have to get away from it for a little bit. So like for a couple of days here and there, like, I can't have a steady diet of MK Ultra. But I will share that link in the description box. The next thing is that I came across like a couple of days ago what is called, I'm going to pause a second here. So this is called The Black Awakening. There's an interview, and I will put the link in the description box. I'll put the MK one in first and then the Black Awakening second. The Black Awakening, I just came across this like 3 days ago, and I'm shocked by this. Now, the two subjects are linked. The Black Awakening is about mind control. Well, it's not victims though. These people actually want to participate in it. They are satanic, but it is still mind control. So the two are linked. And I will play like 2 minutes of the beginning of this interview. It was, where is his name? Let me see. Russ Dizdar, Dizdar, and he wrote The Black Awakening, and that's what this interview is about. Now, somebody copied or shared this link onto, it was actually on a YouTube channel called The Gardener. He's the one sharing it. It's actually Q. It's called the Q Files, and this interview was done 6/19/2009. So it's been 11 years since this interview. And he is talking about how Russ is talking about how he had met with these Satanists and how what they're planning as part of the New World Order and how they want to participate in that. And that's what I'm going to share about in this 2 minutes that I'm going to play. But the whole thing is an hour long, and you can listen to that after. Again, it's incredibly interesting. But I will play the first 2 minutes, and then we'll chat a little bit. So here it is.
This has got a tremendous website. It's linked to on my website, but it's called ShatterTheDarkness.net. Shatter, SHATTER, thedarkness.net. We're going to get right into the interview because Russ is gracious enough to come on short notice, and we're going to talk about the Black Awakening and what it is and how it's going to affect our lives. Hi, Russ.
Hi, Steve. Great. Thanks. Great to be with you tonight.
Well, I got to tell you something. Just going on your website in the last 24 hours, man, are you at the right place at the right time? And it's amazing. After 15 years, Russ, on talk radio, now this is absolutely dropped, I believe, by the direction of the Holy Spirit to warn, to equip, to prepare God's people to fight the fight in the spirit realm that most people don't even know exists. What is the Black Awakening?
Well, that is it is a concept that a underground Satanist, a really highly trained military side Satanist, conveyed to me years ago, and I checked on it years and years after that with many of the other folks that we've worked with. It's their terminology. It's their concept of a coming massive anarchy, chaos that they have been plotting for 60 years, that they've been working. This flows from the old Nazi regime. To this very day, they believe in a new world order, a new globalism, but they've got to create massive chaos, massive anarchy to collapse society, the economic side, the power grids, the food chain, to literally collapse the United States in order to make room for the rise of the Antichrist in their view and the rise of globalism. And they're very committed to it, very lethal in their approach to it. They're as cold as can be when it comes to their discussions of how they're going to take people out, resistors in the midst of the chaos. And when the dust clears, their belief is they will be able to freely develop this new world order.
So he talked a little bit about it, and it is a book, and then there's also this interview. And then if you go to his website, which is ShatterTheDarkness.net, he also shares other links and books that he has written on this subject. Now, there is one that I also want to listen to. Let me see. I think I lost it. I go to so many different places. Oh, this is just session 2, The Black Awakening. So it's like a second link to it. And I have not listened to that yet. So maybe I'll share that one in another video. I like to at least listen to things before, because just to make sure that it's okay to pass on. I mean, I realize that I'm sharing things that are, they'll probably shut my channel down. Because this is the biggest of the big. It really is. When they talk about MK Ultra, mind control, and then what they were saying is that, and you'll hear this in that documentary that about it, that they were told that they had to shut it down, that they, had gone to court several times because of the complaints about this particular program, because what they were saying is that they wanted to create certain types of people that could, like benefit everyone kind of thing, like soldiers and that sort of thing. But then of course, and that was just a cover up like most things are. And so that they could actually just create, they're abducting children. They start the trauma in childhood. Now they may abduct adults as well, but it's harder to break the mind of an adult than it is a child, to start them to dissociate and then create them till they're ultimately a slave. And that slave type mind takes a lot of work. It's years of trauma. It's not even just 1 year of trauma. You'd think maybe that could happen. It doesn't. It takes years to create these people that are literally robotic people. And like Susan Ford says, she didn't even realize that she was doing the things that she was doing. And holy smokes, does she share a lot of stuff. Let me just tell you. She said that she was involved with her handler, her primary owner handler was Bob Hope. And he passed her around to Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, other people, even women. And she also shares that some of these people, like she said, now this is kind of hard for me to believe, but she also said that Barbra Streisand is under mind control and that she does not realize she is, but that Susan knows she is, and that there's other celebrities that are actually part of this as well, the younger celebs. And they show pictures of like Miley Cyrus and I can't think of her name. Hang on one second. Katy Perry. I couldn't think of it. And Britney Spears and other people, that they are actually under mind control. And that's why they behave the way they do, and then have erratic behavior sometimes. And so, but she said, it's so interesting. If you are feeling like the Lord wants you to understand this, like maybe this would be up the road for you, but maybe if you join me in this, this is what's happening as part of the end time events, is that there's going to be certain mind control slaves. Now, just the fact that they're even doing this is shocking in itself. It just is. This is such a level of evil. It's just beyond. And I wanted to share that in the MK Ultra, they talk about, and I've got about 2 minutes here, so I got to hurry, but the people, the companies, the organizations that are actually still using mind control are military intelligence, the CIA, secret societies like the Freemasons, satanic cults, of course, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, British, and the British intelligence. They are the primary organizations carrying out mind control today, but only a fraction of those associated with these names I just listed are actually have any awareness that this is going on there. So what it is they have there's Freemasons that are like in the beginning levels, that they don't fully understand how satanic, how they are literally satanic, a satanic occult organization. And the people that are in the first levels don't even realize that. And that seems to be the pattern with many things. So I've got about 1 minute here, so I got to hurry up. But so that's what I want you to look for in the description box, the MK Ultra documentary that's about an hour long. And then I'll put in the Black Awakening, which is Russ Dizdar, Dizdar, and his the Black Awakening, which is the satanic, like underground satanic movement, and they're just waiting to blow onto the scene and just start tearing people apart. I mean, they are just like set to that, man, woman, child, they don't care. They're just ready to destroy. So, and again, we want to be aware that, oh, I wanted to share something else too, but my phone is blinking. I'm going to have to make a second video. So I'll stop for now and look for another video in a little bit. Thank you, family.